Hello, ladies and gents, boys and girls, people of all ages, sexualities, and identities. Welcome back to another Doctor Who review. And today's Doctor Who review is none other than Full Circle. So, what is Full Circle about? Well, it's a very simple story. So, essentially, we go to a planet in the N system, and we find ourselves on a planet where kind of photosynthesis has taken place, and a lot of creatures seem to be lurking in the swamp. We also find that we meet a young boy known as Adric, who is known for mathematical excellence. He's a bit of a know-it-all, and a lot of the kids in the town struggle to get along with him. However, Adric and his friends decide to stay out in the fog for too long and don't quite make it back to their kind of home base where they all go when things begin to get foggy. In the beginning of this story, Adric and his friends get in deep trouble after pretty much messing around with a lot of the watermelons and then go off into the fog. The Doctor and Romanna get split up as the pair of them begin to wander into the fog on the planet. What the people of the planet don't seem to realise, however, is that their species is equipped to adaptation. It turns out that the whole phrase full circle happens to be a part of their process. They believe the creatures outside to be monsters. However, it turns out that most of these monsters are actually their own people who have evolved to essentially live out their lives inside of the fog. However, due to the differences between them and their human acolytes, they have become very rebellious and hope to essentially break into the facility and take it for themselves. The people in the facility decide to fight back. However, when the Doctor and Adric and his friends begin to explain exactly what's happened, his people become very arrogant and try to basically kill the creatures. However, the Doctor comes up with a much simpler idea. He begins to come up with a coexisting idea and points out to them that if they keep trying to fight one another, their species will go extinct permanently. After the solution is made, Adric then decides to stow away in the Doctor's TARDIS without the Doctor and Romanna's permission. He decides to hide in a laundry basket until the ship takes off for another adventure in time and space. So, full circle, what did I think of this story in general? I really like it because I can't lie, it gives me Orphan 55 vibes. This kind of down-esque kind of idea that human beings, no matter in our own kind of universe or in another, may learn to adapt to their surroundings. I mean, for instance, in the Orphan 55, it's kind of the Craggle or whatever they're called, that essentially have adapted so that they don't need air anymore. They're kind of living on carbon monoxide and breathing in air. However, in this kind of story, it's this idea that due to the fog and the acid rain and a lot of other things that are happening on this planet, the humans have found themselves kind of adapting. However, their ancestors quite clearly didn't tell them about this, and that's why they begin to become scared of the creatures in the swamp. The idea that the whole story is called Full Circle, based on this kind of premise that when the fog has died down, they can go back out and breathe, is brilliant. However, I also feel like it's a little bit of a tragedy on their part that the creatures that have evolved to live in that swamp haven't adapted to reverse their cycle. Instead, it seems like when the fog goes, they go with it. But overall, I really do love the premise of this story, and for that reason, I give it a solid 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next Doctor Who review. Until then, goodbye, stay beautiful, and have an incredible night, you beautiful people.